Who dat to the Who Dat Nation? Welcome to the Who Dat Say podcast, your podcast for the New Orleans Saints here on the KB Radio Network. Man, I almost ran out of breath that quick. I need to get back in shape. I am your humble host, Kevin Reed, also a fellow Who Dat in the Who Dat Nation. Here we are in week 5, and we're here today to preview the Saints versus the Giants week 5 in the Caesars Superdome, 12 noon this Sunday, October the 5th, man. This is an important game for the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are still searching for that first victory of the season as they take on the New York Giants, who just got their first victory of the season last week when they started their rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, took the Rams and led them to victory. And so it's kind of, it's just salt in the wound, because if you followed the Saints throughout the preseason and the offseason and so on and so forth, you know that Jackson Dart was high on the Saints to get lists. And the draft came. We had the number 9 pick. He was falling right in our laps, and the New York Giants leaped ahead, traded up to jump ahead of the Saints to snatch Jackson Dart. And I think that caused a lot of disarray in the Saints organization, because I don't want to disrespect the young man, but I think they had to settle for Tyler Shuck, because that wasn't their first choice. Now, I'm pretty sure he was on their radar, on their board. Pretty sure that he wasn't on anybody else's board, but he was on the Saints board as a second option, and it fell to them in the second round, early in the second round, almost a first round pick if you want to get technical with it. But it is what it is. He will be playing in a dome nonetheless. not with the black and gold, but he will be with the blue and white as he leads his Giants into the Superdome to face these New Orleans Saints. The Saints, oh boy, where do I start? Where do I start? Of course, this is an important game, like I said before, because, man, if we want to stop this tailspin, because you can already feel the hate starting to brew within the Who Dat Nation, and we're not there yet. And I think a lot of that is because everybody who knows football knows that the Saints weren't going to be anything this season as far as a contender. We are in a rebuild. Rather, Mickey Loomis and everybody over there on airline like to say that, oh, it's not a rebuild or whatever. It's a rebuild. We have new quarterback, new coach, new players, young players. It's a rebuild. Saints are just going about it a different way than normal teams would do it. And if they will fully commit to just rebuilding, things would be nice. But that's neither here nor there. Nobody expected the Saints to make a lot of noise, but we were expecting the Saints to look different, to play different, to play harder. And to a degree they have. We just can't cross that hump. 4 games in, and I'd say 3 of them the Saints could have won. 3 of them they had chances to win. 3 of them we were in those games, and that would be the first game with the Arizona Cardinals, with the San Francisco 49ers, and with last week against the Buffalo Bills. They were actually in that game, and you can make arguments. A play here goes different. A play there goes different. Saints are 3-1, at worst 2-2, if things play out differently. And you can make an argument for the Seattle game. You take away special teams faux pas in that game, Saints probably can put up a better fight in that game. And so it's just looking at the mistakes, the constant shooting yourself in the foot of this team that's making you angry. It's making me angry. And it's so disappointing because you expect better, from an NFL team. I know these are new coaches and new players, but these are just focusing on the coaching staff here. It's not like they've never coached anything in their lives. Kellen Moore is fresh off of a Super Bowl winning coaching staff last season. He's been on successful Dallas Cowboys teams. He was semi-successful in LA with the Chargers. He has success. Brandon Staley has success as a coach. So these aren't bad coaches. Why can't we get it together? I don't know. Is it the players? Well, I can go through the list of players. They're not bad players. This isn't a weak team. Now, we are old in some positions, some important positions that we need to kind of move away from. I know that a lot of them are fan favorites and favorites of mine. So I'm saying this with a heavy heart. But there are some players that need to ride the pine. Cam Jordan, love him to death. But Cam Jordan, you need to have a seat. Demario Davis, love him, needs to have a seat. It's just, you see the losing of the steps from these guys. They don't have that same fight that they had before. You see them playing hard. I'll never take that away from them. That's one thing. We'll fight to the death. You never hear me say Cam Jordan or Demario Davis, oh, they mailed in that play. No. They never. But you can tell that they just don't have that same thrust, that same velocity, that same power that they once have, speed that they once had. Demario Davis, I've seen in the past, man, when that line opens up and it looks like Moses is standing in front of the opposing team's quarterback with the staff, and it just parts like the Red Sea, and there's nothing in that gap but the running back and Demario Davis. You knew how that was going to end. You knew that was going to be a tackle. At most, it was going to be a 1 yard gain. That's it, because once Demario Davis shoot that gap, that's the end of that play. Now, this season in particular, these first 4 games in particular, I've seen Demario Davis whiff, and I thought I'll never see that. I've scheduled an appointment at America's Best, man, to get my glasses checked because I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I need a stronger prescription because this can't be right. I'm in the twilight zone. But the reality is Father Time is undefeated. And it's time, man. It's time to move on. Let's get these young players some shine. Now, even more so now this year because it's pretty much done. Unless the Saints go on a historic run to finish out this season, there's nothing to play for other than to see what you have on this team moving forward. And let's get these young guys in. Let's see what they're all about. Let's see if we need to address it further in next year's draft and next year's free agent period. That's my thing. But it's just hurtful to see this team struggling like they are, playing undisciplined like they are. I think that's really frustrating, man. The penalties. And, penalties are penalties. It's in every game. It's in every week. You're going to get your penalties. That is understandable. You're humans. They're all human beings. They're going to make mistakes. The thing that kills me with the Saints, they make not only the same mistakes over and over week to week, but they're at crucial moments in the game. Third down. Defense gets the offense off the field. They finally get a crucial stop. Oh, there's laundry on the field. Stupid personal fouls, whatever, automatic first down. And next thing you know, the team scores. A long drive, putting us out of reach. It's just time after time. And yes, the anger is starting to sit in and people are getting frustrated. And I was hoping that we turned the corner from the last 2 years where the frustration looked like it was going nowhere. And we finally broke away from it. Dennis Allen was gone. We had a new Derek Carr gone. All of these problems that we saw were gone. But here we are with it's like putting the Saints, basically what they did. This car was giving them problems, no pun intended. They had this nice shiny car for all these years. Now the paint's chipping, the motor is running hot all the time, and it was time to get a new car. So what they did was they brought it to this dealership. The dealership rolled it to the back, cleaned it up, put fresh new paint on it, put a little oil in it, and drove it back around, and it was presented and sold to us like it was a brand new, fresh out of Detroit car. But it's the same car. It's just cleaner. And that's what it feels like for the Who Dat Nation looking at this 2025 New Orleans Saints team. It looks like the same team that we thought we were free from a year ago. But there's some good news. You have the Giants coming into town. The Giants, yes, they got a little momentum. They're feeling good about themselves. They just got a victory, first victory of the season. Got their shiny new toy out there on the field, Jackson Dart, who I was super high on in the draft when I heard his name pop up as a possibility for the Saints drafting. I was like, yes, give me that. I watched him in college. Super impressed with him. And I thought that was the type of player the Saints needed, especially at quarterback. I like his swag. I like everything about Jackson Dart. Whether he can be the guy as far as playing the position at this level, I'm still not sold on, of course. It was just one game. And so I can't sit there and say, oh, yeah, that's the next big thing. But just look at that spark that he gave the team. And then look over here. Look over here. Do you think Tyler Shuck could do that? I don't know. I honestly don't know if he can bring that spark like Jackson Dart did. I don't know if he can. But we'll find out eventually, because if the Saints don't win this game Sunday, you can pretty much bet the house that week 6 your starting quarterback will be Tyler Shuck. I'm willing to put vital parts of my anatomy on the line for that. It's the truth. It is the God's honest truth. But if the Saints are going to turn anything around, this is the week to do it. The Giants are weak in so many areas that the Saints can take advantage of. I'm looking at a Saints team that went toe-to-toe with the Buffalo Bills last week in Buffalo and gave them a run for their money for 3.5 quarters. I think if you put half that effort into this game, you'll win going away, because their biggest weapon is out, and I pray that he gets a fast recovery. I'm talking about Malik Neighbors, Louisiana boy, local product, was going to come home, play in front of his fans and family for the first time in the dome for the Giants. But unfortunately, he got hurt last week. He's out for the season for the Giants. But we'll go over all that when we get to our injury report. But that was their biggest weapon, and he's not there. So a lot of players are going to have to step up for the Giants, and it all starts with Jackson Dart. Let's go over some key matchups in this game. And yes, Jackson Dart versus the Saints defense tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Well, depending on when you listen. But this Sunday in the Dome. Jackson Dart, he made his first start last week. He beat the unbeaten at the time New York not New York, but Los Angeles Chargers, and it, nobody gave him a chance, and you know where, but he did it. You know, he led New York to their first win of the season. He threw for 111 yards and a touchdown. He also added 54 yards on the ground for another touchdown. You know, those numbers don't leap out and say rookie of the year, but they do say solid. You know, solid. He won the game. He beat him. He beat him. But to be fair to the Chargers, it isn't like they had tape on Jackson Dart. That's his first game. The advantage to the Saints, you got tape. You can watch last week's game and see what worked and what didn't work and exploit it this week. Despite him being a rookie quarterback with his first win, Sunday will be Saints' best chance to get a win in the win column against this team. Jackson Dart is a rookie. Let's just put it out there. He's a rookie making his second start on the road. Not in a hostile environment like it used to be, but he's on the road nonetheless. And he's bound to make mistakes. And can the Saints capitalize on those mistakes? And now the New Orleans defense can force him to be one-dimensional this Sunday, you know, with this defense. If the Saints defense can limit Jackson Dart in his running ability and make him throw the ball more than 20 times, it's more than likely we can get a turnover or two from him. You know, he's a rookie. He's a rookie. And so we can take advantage of this and make him a statue behind that line. We got to contain. Pretty much the same game plan you had going into Arizona for the most part. Now, Kyler Murray did get loose a couple of times, but nothing major, no big runs, but he did scurry through there every now and then. But for the most part, Saints kept him in check, kept him contained. And we follow that same game plan. Make him one-dimensional, make him have to think, you know, get pressure in his face to where he got to get the ball out quicker. Let's not forget, he doesn't have his number one guy there. And so you know, it's going to be a tough task for him if we're able to make him one-dimensional. Now, the Saints pass rush also has a chance to have a big day. The Giants offensive line, they allow 13. You heard me correctly. 13 sacks in 4 games. 13. So we complain about our offensive line, but my God, that is horrible. The Saints, they're tied for 8th in the NFL in sacks. You know, Carl Granderson is playing out of his mind. For the first 4 games of the season, he has 4.5 sacks so far this season. He's ranked 3rd in the lead in sacks. You know, congratulations to him. Let's hope he can keep that momentum going. If the Saints can force Dart to be a passer, their strong pass rush can take advantage of this inexperienced quarterback and force him into mistakes. That will be the biggest key to victory this Sunday against the Giants. The next one is the Saints run game versus the Giants run defense. The Giants defense has allowed 153 yards rushing per game. That tells me they can't stop a nosebleed as far as running the ball. And you mix up a nice healthy dose of Alvin Kamara and Kendre Miller in the mix. Oh my God. The Saints are top 10 in the league in rushing yards per game. Believe it or not, we are top 10 in the league running the ball. In the loss last week to Buffalo, the Saints had a strong run game. They split carries between Kamara and Miller. Kamara, he's a star. He's already proven it, but Kendre Miller, he's yet to reach his 3rd round value, and I think this is the year he's going to. It appears he's getting better week to week. Every week he looks so much better than he did the week before, and that promise look like it's coming to fruition. You know, we got off to a rough start in his career with the injuries and whatnot, And not to mention, you're splitting time with Alvin Kamara. But it looks like if Alvin Kamara decides to hang him up, or if the Saints decide to trade him off before this season is out, or whatever the case may be, which will stink. But I would understand because once again, like I said before, we're rebuilding, and there's going to be some tough cuts to make. Am I confident that Kendre Miller will be the next man up? So far, so good. So far, so good. I want to knock on wood on this one because he does have a injury history, and so he needs to stay healthy. But he has he rushed for 65 yards and a touchdown on 11 carries. I think he's been a perfect complement to Alvin. Alvin, he has 15 carries for 70 yards rushing last week. So it was a nice balance of a run attack. We can keep that balance going. We're pretty much even out on what the Giants allow per game. And once you beaten up that defense, running the ball down their throat, that's going to open up the passing game. But the Bills' run defense is at the bottom 3 of the year of the league this year so far. And so to be fair, it wasn't like the Saints were going up against the 85 Bears, defense, whereas they had to run through brick walls there. But the Saints have been consistent running the ball all season, so I give them that. The Saints are poised for another strong day on the ground against the Giants and could take advantage of this strong run game against a weak defense that New York possesses to get their first win of the season. Fingers crossed, we'll see how that goes. But those are my two keys to victory for this week against the New York Giants. Make Jackson Dart one-dimensional and run the ball. Run that ball. Run the air out of that ball. I don't care if Spencer Rattler only throws the ball 3 times. I could care less. As long as we get the victory. Whatever works, stick with it. And so, with that being said, let's move over to our injury report for Sunday's matchup against the Giants. And we have a long list on this injury report. And a breath of fresh air, if you will, returning to practice for the first time this season. And it's bad news and good news all at the same time. What they call that, bittersweet. And so this is a bittersweet report for the New Orleans Saints Week 5 injury report. Starting off with our returns, let's start off with some good news before we get into the bad. The good news, we had 3 players practicing for the first time this season, returning to practice after being on the PUP list with respective injuries, knees and shoulders. Taysom Hill has returned to practice. He's been designated as questionable for Sunday's matchup. There is a possibility he could play. Also, the other tight end, Foster Monroe, returned, and he has been designated as questionable as well. And the reason they're both questionable is because Juwan Johnson is questionable with an ankle injury. Whatever. But, yeah, it was good to see those 2 return to practice, along with our new addition this offseason, our defensive tackle, John Widgway III. He's a full participant. No restrictions at all. He had that shoulder injury that kept him out of practice, making his Saints debut. He has been designated as good to go for this Sunday's matchup. Other full participants after being injured this past week, Justin Reed returns as a full participant. Good to see him back for depth purposes, if not for anything else. Limited, or should I say questionable, for Sunday's matchup against the Giants. Taysom Hill, Foster Monroe, Trevor Penning, Juwan Johnson, and Dylan Radins, the offensive lineman. Never could get his last name right. But anyway, they have been considered as questionable for this Sunday's matchup, we have some players who were ruled out. Oh, also questionable is Talaense Fuaga as well. Ruled out for the Week 5 matchup against the Giants. Trey Palmer, wide receiver, dealing with that hamstring. He has been ruled out. Isaac Yeldon with a hamstring. He has been ruled out, as he should be. I wish him a happy recovery, a swift recovery, but he needed to get benched anyway. But he won't be playing this Sunday. Also, Cesar Ruiz, who needs to be benched, but he's hurt with that ankle. He has been ruled out, and according to reports, he could be out for 5 to 6 weeks or something like that with that ankle. Also ruled out, yet again, Chase Young, defensive end. He is out. Can somebody tell me if Chase Young done had surgery or... I mean, I don't get it, man. I just don't understand. The reason I don't understand is not so much Chase Young. It's the fact that if he was going to be out this long, why wasn't he put on IR? Why wasn't he put on the PUP list? Why didn't you bring somebody in who could have helped at that position during his absence? That's what I'm confused by. Because when it first happened, it was like, oh, it's not that serious. Here we are, week 5, and he still hasn't played. He hasn't even practiced. The shocking, I actually saw him at the game. Last week's game, he was on the sideline. I was surprised. I thought that was a sign of hope because he wasn't on crutches or anything like that, but here we are. Here we are. We're still awaiting his 2025 debut. Believe it or not, ESPN has the Saints winning this game. I know, right? 53% chance, but majority rules. I'm actually shocked by that. Either the Giants are that bad, or they see something in the Saints that I have yet to see, or they're looking at the same things that I'm looking at. Like, this is a winnable game for the Saints. It's all about the Saints. Do they want to win it? I don't know, but that's crazy. It was crazy to see that pop up. But that's neither here nor there. Let's go over the season leaders, starting with passing yardage. As you know, the New York Giants starting quarterback for the first 3 weeks of the season was Russell Wilson, and he is their passing leader right now. Even though he got benched after week 3, he was 66 for completions of 111 attempts, 786 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So let's not forget, out of that 786 in those 3 games, I think 450 was against the Giants. In that one game, he made that one interception. He threw that one stupid interception, and that's what killed the game for him. But other than that, that was a storied performance by Russell Wilson. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough for him to keep the starting job. For the New Orleans Saints, our passing leader is Spencer Rattler, 98 for 146 attempts, 765 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. For the rushing leaders of both teams, Alvin Kamara is our rushing leader, 65 carries, 256 yards, and 1 touchdown. For the New York Giants, Cam Scatborough, he has 48 carries, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. Leading receiver for the Giants is Malik Neighbors. Once again, praying for a speedy recovery for him. He was placed on IR. But before that injury, this season, he had 18 receptions, 271 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Our leading receiver is Juwan Johnson, still 22 catches for 204 yards and 1 touchdown. Sack leaders for the New Orleans Saints, Carl Granderson, 4.5 sacks, so far this season for the New York Giants is Brian Burns. We know him very well from his years in Carolina. He has 5 sacks this season. My prediction going into this game, like I said before, if you stick to those keys to victory, containing Jackson Dart, turning him into what he is, and that's a rookie, and lean on our run game, keep the game plan pretty simple, I think the Saints can win this game. Finally get that monkey off of Spencer Rattler back, and Kellen Moore's back as well. And maybe that can motivate this team to kind of make a run, because the season is out wide open after this. We don't have no Buffalo Bills or Seattle Seahawks and all that there left on the schedule. The schedule isn't that brutal going forward. So this could start some things. We just got to get over that hump. We just got to break free. It's like loosening up a nut. When you take that Allen wrench or that sprocket and you finally bust it to whereas it's loose, you just got to get that first turn so it can loosen up. And that's what they're saying. They got to get that first turn to turn the corner towards their soon-to-be winning ways. So we'll see. But my prediction, and I pray to God I'm not making a mistake here, I think the Saints win. I think the Saints get their first win of the season this Sunday against the New York Giants. But that's just one man's opinion. I would love to know yours. Do you think the Saints will finally get something in the win column except a goose egg? Do you think this is the week to do it, or do you think it's over? The Saints are just trash, and we're going to go 0-17 this season, because I've heard a few people say that, and they need to chill. Just relax. Relax. It's not going to be that bad. But I want to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Who That Say podcast here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this Week 5 preview of the New Orleans Saints versus the New York Giants. Sunday, October the 5th, 12 noon, live on CBS or wherever you watch the game. After the game, don't forget, I'll be back to recap, hopefully, prayerfully, a Saints victory. Until then, it doesn't matter win or lose. I'm still going to be screaming, "Who dat?"